All right, so part of your design will be color, right? Color is probably the most kind of influential type of addition that you can make to any type of design. You want to kind of use it sparingly and not like use every color unless you're trying to have some kind of rainbow thing in your design, but it will probably, if you had every color, limit your emphasis that you're using in your design. So it's kind of not the most, you don't want to use everything, all right? So what we're going to do today is just get a little practice kind of drawing and recognizing our different colors and for our color schemes and making a color wheel. I do have a further project that we're going to do with this later this week, but I'm not going to get into that too much. So right now what I'd like you to do is, if you can open up a tab, if you haven't already gone to it, go to, or just search for Google Drawing. It used to be in the waffle iron. I don't think it is anymore though for some reason. Maybe if you use it often it'll show up, but if we do look in the the 9 dots over here, once you're logged in, the waffle iron as it's called, it doesn't show up in there. So I'm just searching for Google Drawings and then I can get a new one here. All right. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of make this chart that we have, all right, or this color wheel. Anybody have any idea how we might go about doing that? Adrian?
You go to whatever this tab is over here and then click on circle maybe?
That would be a good way to start. How could you subdivide that circle into different parts though and get different colors? It might get a little tricky that way, especially getting it even, all right? So, and actually let's start off by calling this color wheel, all right? They leave them as untitled to start off, all right? And actually let's put your name at the beginning. That way when you share it, there's no doubt whose it is. Last name or preferably. All right, and actually, I'll get this screen going. I know that some of the angles for your desks are a little tough there. All right. So instead of using a circle, what I'm going to suggest or have you do is insert a chart, and we're going to do a pie chart. All right, so right now it just gives us this kind of generic one here, all right, which we can then modify. All right, that's what we'll be doing there, is we're going to modify this chart to create a pie chart, which will actually be a color wheel. One of my first jobs, I mentioned I worked in New York, they had somebody, all they did, they made, they called them infographic charts, and they were very similar to all these types of things, typically dealing with like financials. It was a financial publication, so they would like kind of plot stocks and trends of stocks and things like that. Probably for most of us not the most exciting stuff, but needless to say it was a job, and it was creative also because people, it gave us the ability to use computers to do stuff. So everybody get a chart in there, a pie chart? All right, so if we click the drop down arrow here, we can say open source. So what this does is that it gives us, this chart is based on a spreadsheet. All right, so what we're going to change these to is our colors. What's our first primary color?
Red.
Red, right? Everybody always thinks of that, right? I'm just going to move this out of the way a little bit. So in our table here, we're going to, and let's call this, instead of period 1, let's call this our color wheel. If I go too fast, you miss something, I have no problem stopping, slowing down. I'm going to skip this one because this is going to be our secondary color. What's our next primary color, or another one?
Blue.
Blue, all right, we could say, all right. And then the third primary?
Yellow.
Yellow. Good job, Michael. All right, when we mix red and blue, what do we get? Purple or violet? We mix blue and yellow, we get green. And then this will kind of loop around. Yellow and red makes orange. All right, so either you didn't know or you're just early in the morning. I get it either way. So hopefully you are learning here. All right, so let me zoom in. All right, so this is what we should see in our data here. All right, this is our title. We have red, purple. Basically these are our primaries: red, blue, yellow, and then we mix those, and then we get our purple, green, and orange. So I kind of have those as in between. That way when we look at the color wheel, it's going to flow around. Now, we want this to be in equal parts. All right, so if we take, and actually I was thinking about this, I think I divided 100 by 6 to get my proportion before, but I was thinking that it could almost be, I wonder if we get like the same thing, because a circle is how many degrees? 360, right? And if we have divided by 6, that would be 60. I don't think that works that way. All right, so yeah, it ends up, I did, actually let's see what this looks like, even if, test out my theory. It's okay to be wrong sometimes on things. All right, if we put 60 in here, and really they're all 60, so what you can do is you can drag, if you select this cell as it's called, and drag that down, oh, that does work out also. So 360, which is the full degrees in a circle, divided by 6, because that's how many colors we have, ended up being 60. Now, I did this though, I think originally. You don't have to type this in. If we do, because I did this originally at 16.667, but dividing 100, that's basically the same. All right, I like the first way, I think, is probably more correct. All right, because if we take a circle, again, divide 360 degrees divided by 6, we would get 60. All right, so now we should see this pie chart being subdivided into 6 areas. The colors don't match up, but we'll get to that next. All right, let me just see where everybody is. Now we just need to customize this chart, all right, to get the colors to match up. So if you click if you just double click the chart here, then on the the right side, we have Setup and Customize. Let's go into Customize, and then under Pie Slice, all right, you think of these all being as a slice of the pie, we're going to then just coordinate the color name with the actual color on the swatches here. Morning, Gina. Yes. Yes. Sure. All right. All right, so all these colors on Pie Slice, we're making the color match up with the name. They could probably actually be in like a different order, because actually I guess we can leave the labels on there. That might be nice in the end. I think I took mine off at some point. So yellow's yellow. Yes, Adrian.
Are we able to blend this like in the future, or like are we doing that today or another day?
Blend it? What do you mean?
Like each color kind of fuses together.
Oh, I was thinking about doing that as far as making the tertiary colors. It gets kind of involved. I think we'll do it, and we can probably do it easier in Illustrator, because picking the colors, and that was something. Let me just get this done, and then I'll kind of come back and we'll talk about that a little bit. But yeah, if you wanted to make, I guess, like a true color wheel with all the tertiary colors in there, I guess is what you're saying, and have it kind of fade in, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be nice.
It'd be kind of sick, honestly.
All right, so as we should see here, right, so red and blue makes purple, blue and yellow makes green, and then yellow and red makes orange. All right. So that's kind of, there should be an order to your color wheel, all right, where there's a definite relationship where you have your primaries, they add would be your secondaries. We're not going to go in and do the tertiaries. We're just going to kind of get a picture for that. And because I don't want to, what we could do, if we had more colors, you can go in here and, because it's a little difficult, I think, picking the swatch from there. If you go to custom, you get this number which is called a hexadecimal value. All right. Every color has a web color, which basically this is. It's a code that equates to a color. But I think if we were all copying, and there are all these weird kind of numbers, like over here. Actually, where's the one I had? Did I take it out? Maybe I took it out. Yeah, I didn't want to overcomplicate things too much with that. So we are just going to leave that there with that, and we're not going to get too intricate in Google Drawings. We'll maybe do that a little bit more in Illustrator. All right. So we have our pie slices. Any question on the pie slices? Yes.
Will you be able to make that smaller, like each one, like thinner and thinner, if you keep adding?
Yes. If you add more like lines or cells here, but then you'd have to divide, right? So if we had 12 slices, right, which would be our tertiary colors, and you have to divide 360 by 12, and then that would be the number that would go into each box. Well, what does that end up being, right? If we took 360 divided by 12 instead of 6, then each slice would be 30, right? So that would make your slice smaller. All right, let's look and see here. I think the name would be good, but let's try to get rid of this number that's on there. So let's see, chart style, custom border color. Oh, we can make this 3D. How cool would that be?
Oh.
A 3D color wheel. I like that, all right? You can see what else you got in here. This is your border color. I'm going to take the border off.
There's something I noticed. If you maximize it, it'll take away the number, and all the titles will be put off to the side with a designated color.
Where's that under?
It's right above 3D, the 3D option.
Chart style. Okay.
Maximize, and then you can just crop the other things out.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we don't necessarily have to point to the colors. I think we know what they are, right?
Yeah.
We know what colors are which, right? So I think that should work if we use that. So now if we go back to our original Google drawing, where is it? And then press update, that just happened. All right. So, and that's what's nice about using the chart inserted into the Google drawing, because you can always come back and make changes. So if I say, I don't want it to be 3D, I can do that, and then I can come back, and then it goes back the way it was. And this is a good concept also when we're working in like Premiere or InDesign, which is a layout program. If you place a picture in it and then make a change outside, like in Photoshop, it'll automatically update it. So it's called a linked file to that. All right. Anybody have any problems getting your pie chart to look like that to start? Oh, we had the donut in the middle too there, I think. Zalika? Okay. Let me just do one other thing here. I think it's nice to kind of have that. I think it was just a setting. They called it a donut in there, which you had the hole in the middle. Anybody see where that was? I guess it's not the biggest.
Donut hole. Here it is, under pie chart.
Yeah.
It says donut hole. And you can make it like, you can make whatever percentage you want it to be.
There it is.
I recommend the 50%.
Yeah, 50 looks good, all right? So, and that's good because you could put text in the middle of that if you wanted to at some point.
Ooh. Made it 3D.
So that's under pie chart, right? Was that under there? And then donut hole, I've made at 50%. That does look nice with the 3D there,
It's like
though.
pineapple slice. Like with the rainbow.
I don't know why the 3D just sounds fun.
It is.
Satisfying, yeah, that's nice. Cause there's like that, it has like the darkness. I made what is it?
Yeah,
It
that's
looks like a
exactly
pineapple,
what I
right?
like.
Like that pineapple slice type one.
Pineapple slice.
Ooh,
It
that's
reminds me of, or like maybe like a what is it?
I'm hungry.
I don't know.
Do you know what?
I'm like hungry for sushi right now.
I don't. They haven't given us any indication yet. Alright, and we probably don't even need this legend in here, really, right, either, because we know what colors are what.
That's odd, but okay.
I bowl of cereal at like 3 a.m.
Bowls, okay, but bowls are like 3 in the morning. They
Hello?
bowls of cereal 3 a.m.
It's like 3:05. I woke up and I was like, oh, I need some cereal.
Can you wait a little bit, or
What?
you need? Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna punch you in the face. Right here you are.
Damn.
All right, everybody good? Up to this point, you should have kind of basically something like this in your Google Drawing. All right, so that is pretty easy to make, right? Imagine if you had to make that though with shapes and stuff in Google Drawings.
Oh, that was the first thing I was attempting to do before you
I
figured
thought-
out like the pie chart.
Yeah.
I was attempting to construct it by shapes, and I was trying to position them perfectly so they match.
I mean, it's doable probably, but not very easy, right?
It's
We
easy.
should like paint this
Yeah.
like up close.
All right. So the next, let's label our primary colors. That's the next thing I'd like you to do, just like this. So we can start with a text box, and we can say primary colors. Let me zoom in here again. Oh, I hate that. I don't know why you can't. Normally, you can do a Control plus to zoom in on the screen, but in all these Google Docs, you have to use like the magnifying glass. Otherwise, it does not really zoom in. And now I have to go back.
I love that.
You got rid of it?
Yeah, he on his
Girl, what the hell? Wait, how did you get rid of the bottom?
That was the legend. In that, when you go back to your chart, I just unchecked the legend in there, or said none.
I thought you were gonna tell us an epic story.
No.
The legend of the color wheel.
The legend of the, okay.
Once upon a time.
Over the rainbow.
Story time?
Yeah.
I love stories.
I wish I had a big dramatic story about colors and how they were made. That would be pretty cool. All right, so then we're just going to use the arrow tool. All right, so up on the top next to the selection tool, we have the line tool. So if you choose the arrow, and we know our primaries are blue, grab another one. We should know.
I can't find the dice.
Ow. Ooh, I just got lightheaded. I just stretched and got lightheaded. You know, the stretch is good when you start seeing coloring screen dimension.
The back of your head just like leaks out.
Yeah, I start floating. What?
So blue. It keeps selecting all these other things. You have to kind of select off of it. Like I had to click like all the way down here, and then it didn't reselect. And then I can use the selection tool to then reposition this, I guess. So that was not really, it was all moving like together, right? All right, so those are our primaries. Blue, yellow, red. All right, any questions about that?
Yes, one question.
Yes,
As
sir.
for the text boxes, I can't find it for the life of me.
You're in Excel, you want to be back in
Oh. Oh, update. Oh, I was looking in this. I was like, where the hell is the text box? How do you save this? I want to keep it on.
It auto saves.
Auto save?
Every Google Doc, that they have auto saves, so. Good, everybody?
Save. Movie, right?
Or not. Mommy really said
so the next thing we're going to add to this, let's see, going over, we'll do our warm and our cool colors. So what I did for that was I copied and pasted this chart, made it a little bit smaller. Now, let's see. I didn't have this 3D before, so it's going to be a little harder to crop. Wonder if I rotate it, if it still keeps, yeah, it does that weird thing. It's a little easier when it's not 3D. I'm trying to think of a way. Let's see if we unlink it, does that? We could unlink it and then, I don't know if I was going to try to go back and maybe just modify that one. Because what I did on the original one is I cropped it, but now that it's at this different angle, it's a little difficult to do that. Let's see if I can get creative here. Where am I? I'm here, right? So now that this is settled, I can,
How do you make the arrow lines?
up here on the top here, they are next to the selection button. You'll see there's an arrow, or I think it's just line by default. So if you click the drop down, you can do that.
Coolio, thank you.
Yep. All right, so I think I'm going to unlink this. All right, that will, the good thing about that is if I make changes to that original chart, it's not going to update into here, because for my my warm and cool colors, I don't want this to be 3D. So let's see if I can go back.
Maybe make a copy of it while it's still linked, then unlink the original.
Yeah, I think probably. Yeah, I think I shouldn't have unlinked it first.
Just Control C.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. There we go. All right. So let's copy and paste this over here. And then I'm going to unlink this one so that when I make changes, it's not going to change it to this one. But then I can go to this one. I'll go back to the source. Now, if you didn't make yours 3D, you don't have to really do any of this kind of stuff. But if you did make it 3D, then just so that we can crop it, we're going to have to unapply that 3D. So if I go to chart style, make it 3D, un-3D, and then come back and update. So now it's not going to have that 3D, and I can then, because I want to get this, my warm colors are red, yellow, and orange. So what I want to do is kind of rotate this so that they're like on the top. I don't know if this is going to work cropping. Nah, this is not going to work like that. So we're going to do something. I don't want to complicate this. I'm just going to copy and paste this, make it a little smaller, and we'll kind of do some arrows like we did with our other one. So we're just going to say warm. I'm going to copy this box. And then I'm just going to make arrows going to those colors, just like we did with the first one. So we're going to say this is warm. I'm going to put this justified to the right just so it bumps over there. And then I'll use those arrows again. So we have red, orange, and yellow. I can use my selection tool, and another tool or function that is useful is grouping objects, right? If I want to move and scale all these together, let's just test. Yep. I use the selection tool, which is the arrow, and I draw like what's called a box selection around it, right? And this is something we'll be doing in a lot of other programs also. And then if I right click it, I can say, let's see if it is in here. I'm looking for a group. I want to group them together. There we go. All right. Now I don't have to worry about selecting them and moving them separately. All right. So by grouping things together, you can then modify them together also or select them, and it becomes a lot easier to do that. So I'm going to do that with this also. I did my box select around the text, the arrows, and the graph, and I'm going to group them. So now when I click on it, I can get all of it together.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Would this be fine for the warm colors? I just took out purple, blue, and green. So it doesn't
You just
have
removed them?
Yeah, I just removed them, but it doesn't have it set up the way it is on
Okay.
here.
Yeah, that's fine.
How do you group them?
You do like a box select, what I'm calling. You're going to use the selection tool, not the arrow line, but like the one here that's next to the magnifying glass. And then if you just left click and drag to like draw a box around the things you want to be together, and then just right click and do a group. So now I'm going to just copy and paste this one down to here. I will ungroup it because now I want to put my arrows in different places. So these are our cool colors, and we're going to make these go to purple, green. Yeah, doesn't have to be exact as long as it's kind of labeling the same things though. Cool colors. All right, so something like that. We can maybe group these again so that we can move them a little bit easier. Questions so far? Repeats? Okay, so then what was the next thing? All right, so now we're going to do these analogous. Actually, we'll do, let's do the monochromatic first. That one's kind of easy. So I'm going to take one of these charts, copy and paste. I'm going to ungroup so I can pull the stuff out. And let's see if this works. So if there was a function, format options, I think that's where it's under. And if you do recolor, you have all of these color choices here. All right. So a monochromatic color is one color and then tints and shades of it, or values, right? Lightness and darkness of that. All right, so let's do that for this one. We're going to label that. So I just copied and pasted the pie chart, and then I went over to the side, and or I double clicked, or no, I actually didn't even have to double click. Up here on the top, I just chose format options, and then I went to recolor. All right, there's some cool stuff you can do here too, like with reflections and drop shadows, and you know, if you want to kind of jazz up your designs, you can play around with this stuff here. It's like a corny word, jazz. Oh, my phone's on. All right, and I think I double clicked it. When you double click it, you have the ability to crop the image. So if I press enter there, it's going to do that, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to basically uncrop this. All right, so we're going to say monochromatic. Mono is 1, right? I chose format options at the top, and then I chose the recolor option. Now I can see my spelling is bad. Monochromatic is one color, or I'll just say tint, shades of one color. All right, that's what we use, or that's what makes it a monochromatic color scheme. I think we talked about that last week too when Mr. E was up here talking about how that saves money for printing because you're not using a lot of different colors and generating different plates, as it's called, for the production aspect of printing. So that can be very cost effective, making our monochromatic color scheme. All right, so again, did anybody need me to show the recoloring option again?
Yes, please.
Okay, so once you make your copy, just go up, there should be a little option here for format options. And then under recolor, you can just choose any of those. And really you can see these are all different monochromatic color schemes. It's kind of why I liked using that. So if you wanted greens or purples or whatever, you can choose whatever color as your base on there that you want to. All right, so I think the next one we're going to use a picture from that I had in the classroom today. Instead of making this color wheel here with all these different colors, I decided, bless you, just to have you guys use that picture. So in the classroom, take this picture, all right, and hopefully we're not going to have we get this weird option here. What if we can't preview? All right, can I download it? It's got this new file format extension I just noticed on here, JFIF, which is like a new file extension, I think, for smaller file size. I'm going to see. You guys probably can't really do anything with it, right? Actually, Jeff, I see you have it open. What did you do? You just clicked on it and opened it. So we want to get this into our drawing. So if you do that, well then why don't you just copy and paste it into your Google Drawing? All right, we don't really need to save it. What did you say, Quinn? You just clicked on it and copied? Yeah, so just right-click it, copy image, and then how about, can we just do that and then paste, Control V? There we go. All right, I think that works. And then I can uncrop it. I don't know why. Ooh. Well, that's not good. We want that full image in there. Let me see. I'll probably open it and resave it as a proper format. Save link as, no, that's an HTML document. Let's just, so if we copy this image just by right-clicking it and do copy, and then we can come back to here and Control V will paste. All right, so that image, that new file in there should work now. All right, so this first other or additional color scheme we want to talk about is, let's do complementary first actually. That's used pretty often. They are opposite on the color wheel. All right. And so we're going to explain that. I'm going to do a little formatting here. So I'm going to copy this whole box and paste it instead of retyping. I copy and paste as much as possible because then you don't have, I don't know, like my typing speed isn't super quick and sometimes I make errors also because I'm trying to do things too quickly. So we're going to say this first one is complementary. Complementary, all right, opposite on the wheel. All right, so for that one, just for the diagram, now we are going to use some of those shapes. So I'm going to use a circle and just kind of make one over here. And then, so that one, the opposite would be down here. Oops. Or again, copy and paste so I can get the same size. And so opposite of that is going to be down here. And then we can just draw a line connecting it. Like so. Oops. close enough. All right, so that's our complementary. Any questions on that one? And then the last one we'll do here for today is this analogous. So I'm going to select all. Again, I used my box select, just drawing a box around the things I want to choose, because you could also hold shift, and then just keep selecting things, but sometimes it's hard to get everything. So I do this box select, and then I'll copy and paste, drag it over instead of reinventing the wheel. Haha, the color wheel, get it? All right, now we're going to do analogous. Is this last example of color schemes we're going to have here. And they're next to each other. So I can just kind of modify this a little bit. Take this circle. Ooh, that even brought my line with it. That's kind of cool. And we can draw another line there. You can't really see him too well. All right, so that is a good majority. Let's see, what else do we have to get in there from the original? Actually, that's it. So let's just get our name in there and this DVC logo. So again, that would be, the logo is right here. So you can just right click, copy image, go back into here, paste, resize. Maybe somewhere kind of in the middle in here. And then put your name in there using a text box. All right, so now you have gotten a little bit of drawing skills and some chart making, learning how to format in Google Drawings. I always like to start off with kind of free apps because you don't always have the access to our Adobe stuff. And you can do a decent amount of stuff with them. And then, so this also does reinforce some of our color theory and thinking about which colors are which. And we'll look at a little presentation I have when we talk about layout that will maybe give you some ideas with that also. All right, so